The rain had been falling all morning, drumming softly on the diner's tin roof, when Emily noticed the frail old woman shivering by the window. She wore a faded cardigan and shoes with holes in them, staring at a half-empty cup of coffee as if it were her only comfort in the world. Emily had seen her before, always alone, always ordering the cheapest thing on the menu that morning. Something in the woman's trembling hands and tired eyes made Emily's heart ache. Emily walked over, her apron smudged with coffee stains, and placed a plate of warm soup and bread. In front of the woman. "It's on the house," she said softly. The woman looked up, startled. Then her eyes welled up with tears. "You shouldn't have done that, dear. I can't pay you back. You already have." Emily smiled. "You reminded me to be kind from that day on." Emily began setting aside a small plate of food every afternoon for Mrs. Lawson, the quiet, elderly woman who had once been forgotten by the world. Even when Emily could barely afford her own meals, she'd make sure Mrs. Lawson ate first. The diner's owner, Mr. Briggs, wasn't thrilled. "Emily," he warned, "you're not running a charity. We barely break even as it is." "No, sir," she replied, "but sometimes kindness feeds more than hunger." The weeks turned into months. Mrs. Lawson became part of Emily's daily routine. She'd listen to the old woman talk about her late husband, her son who had left for the city years ago and never came back, and the loneliness that filled her days like a shadow. Emily would smile, hiding the ache in her chest. She knew what it felt like to be alone too. Her parents gone, her dreams shelved so she could pay off debts and keep a roof over her head. One bitter winter morning, Emily noticed Mrs. Lawson hadn't come. The booth by the window sat empty. Hours passed, and worry clawed at her heart. After her shift, she ran through the snow to the small apartment where the woman lived. The door was unlocked. Inside, Mrs. Lawson lay weak on the couch, her hands cold and her breath shallow. "Mrs. Lawson," Emily cried. Rushing to her side, she called for an ambulance, stayed by her all night in the hospital, and whispered prayers under her breath when the doctor said the woman was malnourished and had no family to contact. Emily felt tears sting her eyes. "She has me," she said. "I'll take care of her over the next few weeks." Emily visited every day, bringing soup, reading to her, and sitting by her bedside. Mrs. Lawson began to recover slowly, her smile returning little by little. One afternoon, as Emily fed her, the old woman whispered, "You remind me of my son, always so kind, until he changed. I just wish he could see what truly matters again." Emily squeezed her hand gently. "Maybe he will." A few days later, as the snow melted and the world began to breathe again, something unimaginable happened. The diner was unusually busy when a line of black SUVs pulled into the parking lot, 20 of them, gleaming under the pale sun. People stopped eating, murmuring in disbelief. A tall man in an expensive suit stepped out of the first vehicle. His face was stern, but his eyes looked haunted. Emily froze as he walked in, followed by a few bodyguards. "Excuse me," he said, his voice deep. "I'm looking for Emily Carter." "That's me," she said, cautiously wiping her hands on her apron. "I'm Nathan Lawson," he said. "You've been feeding my mother." Her heart skipped. "Mrs. Lawson, your mother?" He nodded slowly. "I didn't know she was struggling. I didn't know she was even alive until the hospital called. They told me about you, how you cared for her when no one else did." He paused, emotion flickering in his eyes. "You saved her life." Emily didn't know what to say. "I just did what anyone should have done." Nathan looked around the small diner, at the flickering lights and worn-out chairs. "No," he said quietly. "You did what most people wouldn't." The next morning, Emily arrived at work to find the diner surrounded by the same SUVs. Nathan was inside, speaking with Mr. Briggs. When he saw Emily, he smiled for the first time. "I hope you don't mind," he said. "I bought the diner." What she gasped. He nodded. "Consider it a thank you for saving my mother. I want to turn this place into something special, a community cafe, where anyone in need can eat. You'll manage it, if you'll accept." Tears filled Emily's eyes. "But why me?" "Because you taught me what I'd forgotten," Nathan said softly. "You showed me that kindness is the greatest investment anyone can make." That day, the diner reopened with a new sign, "Lawson's Table." When no one eats alone, Mrs. Lawson sat by the window again, smiling proudly. At Emily, the place was filled with laughter, warmth, and hope. People from all walks of life came in, not just for food, but for the feeling of belonging. As Emily watched the elderly woman and her son share a meal together for the first time in years, she realized something profound. Sometimes the smallest act of compassion can rewrite someone's entire story. And though Emily had once been just a waitress in a forgotten diner, she had become something far greater, a reminder that even one quiet heart can change the world.